Superhero Facts, Part 1. Superman was actually supposed to be a bald hero obsessed with world domination. Hulk was originally the color gray, but due to the printing errors, he ended up being changed to green. Batman has an IQ of 192, which actually beats the IQ of Stephen Hawking and Albert Einstein that have a 160. Joker was actually supposed to die in only his second appearance, but the editors saw potential in his character as the perfect arch nemesis to Batman, so they continued his character. One of Superman's powers is that he can control his heartbeat by either stopping it or making it beat louder, but he can also hear every single heartbeat on planet Earth. Superhero Facts, Part 2. Superman is actually a vegetarian. Because his senses are so sharp, he's always aware of when life ends, so he kind of feels guilty eating meat. Jackson almost bought all of Marvel Comics just because he wanted to play Spider-Man. That is what I call real money. Wolverine's original name was the Badger, and he was supposed to fight the Hulk. Wonder Woman was made out of clay by her mom and then brought to life by Zeus. In 1989, Marvel Comics introduced a character whose only superpower was that he couldn't die. Mr. Immortal tried killing himself multiple times, but failed every time. Superhero Facts, Part 3. Harley Quinn's origin story came after her TV debut in Batman the Animated Series. She is one of the only characters to ever appear on TV before the comics. One of Thor's powers is called All Tongue, where he can speak regularly and anyone, anywhere could understand him. Stan Lee confirmed that Dr. Doom was never intended to be a villain. He's just someone who wants to rule the world. That's like saying, oh, I want to be president, I want to rule the US. A former comic book editor actually ran the numbers and concluded that it would cost someone $600 million to actually become Batman. Stan Lee created Spider-Man after watching a fly sit on a wall and realized that he needed a hero that could stick to surfaces. He came up with Mosquito Man, Insect Man, but soon realized that all of those were nothing compared to Spider-Man. Superhero Facts, Part 4. When Captain America was created in 1940 in response to World War II, his original name was the Super American. Kryptonite first became a thing when the voice actor that played Superman in the radio show The Adventures of Superman needed a vacation. It wasn't until 1943 that kryptonite was first introduced after the actor returned from his trip. The character of Batman was influenced by multiple people, including Zorro, Dracula, Robert the Bruce, who's a Scottish national hero, and Mad Anthony Wayne, who was a hero in the American Revolution. Deadpool once survived a zombie apocalypse in a Mexican restaurant after he fell into a food coma after eating too many chimichangas. The blood of the X-Men villain Apocalypse can heal mutants but kill humans. Superhero Facts, Part 5. Even though Thanos has beat Hulk several times in the comics before, he always repeatedly mentions that Hulk is one of the few people that he avoids conflict with. As a child, Slade Wilson's dad sold him off to the mafia to pay off some old debts. That's what I call real daddy issues. Even though Harley Quinn was created for the sole purpose of being Joker's sidekick, she has had her own team of sidekicks called the Quintets. So similar to the character from Split, Moon Knight has multiple personalities disorder. So he created personalities based on Spider-Man, Captain America, and Wolverine to help him when he's fighting crime. Martian Manhunter has 100% complete control over the molecular structure of his body. This gives him the ability to shapeshift, so the clothes that you think he has wearing on, that's actually... Superhero Facts, Part 6.
In an alternate universe, Superman crashes in Gotham City. After that, he's adopted by the Waynes, and after the Waynes are murdered, Superman becomes Batman. Speaking of another Batman-related fact, Batman once tried to become a Green Lantern, but couldn't overcome the fear of losing his parents. Doomsday, that weird creature in Batman vs. Superman, in the comics he's responsible for the death of Superman and 1 million Green Lanterns. At his greatest peak, Doctor Strange and his magical powers are more powerful than the Celestials and Galactus, which are some of the most powerful beings in the entire history of Marvel. Hawkeye was actually supposed to be the hero being interrogated at the beginning of Avengers. Instead, they replaced him with Black Widow.
Superhero Facts, Part 7. Before Zack Snyder got the job, Ben Affleck was actually in the running to direct Man of Steel. Chris Evans actually had a fake jaw in the post-credit scene for Avengers because he was in the middle of filming Snowpiercer, in which he needed a beard for. Christopher Nolan, the director of the Dark Knight trilogy, actually didn't want Superman to kill Zod in Man of Steel. Dwayne Johnson is the longest contracted actor to have never made an appearance in his role. He was cast as Black Adam in 2014 and his film is coming out in 2021. The General from Man of Steel was actually revealed by Zack Snyder to have been Martian Manhunter the entire time.
Superhero Facts, Part 8. Christian Bale was offered to reprise his role as Batman in Batman vs. Superman. Unfortunately, he declined, so then we had Ben Affleck, who was later cast. The original villain for the first Avengers was going to be Ezekiel Stane, who was the son of Obadiah Stane, the first villain for the first Iron Man movie. Want to know how Tom Holland found out he was Spider-Man? Well, he found out the same way me and you found out. He found out through scrolling through Instagram. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is worth more than the Star Wars franchise, Transformers, Harry Potter, and the DC Extended Universe combined. As jam-packed as it was, Batman vs. Superman almost featured the Joker and the Riddler.
Superhero Facts, Part 9.
So instead of being this super grizzled, serious adult, Wolverine was actually meant to be a teenager. So this is probably the weirdest fact I've ever said in this series, but Aquaman's first love was a dolphin. So despite what you may think, Deadpool's only power is his healing ability. He doesn't have an enhanced endurance, enhanced physical strength, enhanced nothing. He just has enhanced healing factor. And his healing factor is so powerful that one time he was able to come back from being reduced to a single cell of blood. I don't really know what the Marvel writers were thinking when they wrote this, but Thor once helped Hitler.
Superhero Facts, Part 10. Marvel's first superhero was the Human Torch. Daredevil actually influenced the creation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay, this is by far the weirdest fact I've ever said in this series, and I promise you I'm not lying, but Supergirl's first boyfriend was a horse. When the character of Hawkeye was originally being created, he was actually meant to be a villain. So before you tell me Star-Lord is a hero, I just want you to know that in the comics, he's amassed to killing over 300,000 living creatures. Superhero Facts, Part 10. Marvel's first superhero was the Human Torch. Daredevil actually influenced the creation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay, this is by far the weirdest fact I've ever said in this series, and I promise you I'm not lying, but Supergirl's first boyfriend was a horse. When the character of Hawkeye was originally being created, he was actually meant to be a villain. So before you tell me Star-Lord is a hero, I just want you to know that in the comics, he's amassed to killing over 300,000 living creatures. Superhero Facts, Part 11. George Lucas, the creator of Star Wars, was actually a huge Marvel fan, and that's why Darth Vader was actually inspired by Doctor Doom. You know, Marvel actually trademarked the word zombie in 1973 after they came out with their Tales of the Zombie series, and it was all the way up until 1999 that they had the word zombie completely trademarked. Deadpool was created as a knockoff of DC's Deathstroke. Then he was later reimagined as the psychotic smartass he is today. Luke Cage was the first black superhero with his own comic. Venom was actually created by a Marvel fan. Marvel saw value in the character and they actually bought Venom from the fan for 220 books. Superhero Facts, Part 12.
In the comics, after the Vietnam War and the Watergate scandal, Captain America became so disillusioned with the US government that he ditched his role as Captain America and became Nomad. Stan Lee actually created Professor X and Magneto after Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Wolverine originally didn't have retractable claws. Instead, he had gloves with claws attached, and the only superpowers he had were animal-like senses and Spider-Man-like super strength. When Hulk debuted, Stan Lee chose gray because he didn't want a color leaning towards any particular ethnic group. Iron Man was created by Stan Lee as a challenge to create a hero that no one should like, but everyone was forced to like him. Superhero Facts, Part 13. When Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were creating villains for Marvel, they turned to the Bible. They took inspiration and created Silver Surfer and Galactus, modeling them after God and Satan. Iron Man's real name isn't Tony Stark. It's actually Anthony Edward Stark. Tony is just a nickname. Superman was originally only supposed to have the superpower to leap tall buildings with a single bounce. But when artists tried to animate that, they decided to make him fly because it was too hard for them to draw him bending his knees. Deadpool has something called medium awareness. That basically means that he is aware that he is a comic book character. That's why he's always breaking the fourth wall. Many of Marvel's most popular heroes and villains are of Irish descent, including Captain America, Beast, Iceman, an incarnation of Ant-Man, and Daredevil and Bullseye. Superhero Facts, Part 14. In 2002, a 4-year-old boy suffering from hearing loss didn't want to wear his hearing aid because superheroes didn't wear them. That was until Marvel Comics created the superhero known as Blue Ear so the kid could wear his hearing aid. The Ultimate Comics Nick Fury was drawn to perfectly resemble Samuel L. Jackson, who later went on to play Nick Fury in the movies. Werewolves were banned at Marvel because of the Comics Code Authority, which was an organization established in 1954 in order to make comics more kid-friendly. Have you ever wondered what DC stands for? It actually stands for Detective Comics, which was the first comic series that introduced Batman. God, this is a weird one. There's a DC hero called Dog Welder, who basically has the power to weld dead dogs into the face of his villains and criminals. Superhero Facts, Part 15. Batman has appeared in more theatrically released movies than any superhero ever. He currently holds the record for 14 appearances on the big screen. The Batman villain known as Penguin was influenced by an advertising mascot for a cigarettes company called Cool, which was established in 1933, 7 years before the Penguin made his debut. The S on Superman's chest is actually the symbol for his family name. The resemblance to the letter S happens to just be a coincidence. In a Marvel What If comic, Peter Parker was bitten by a radioactive sheep, turning him into Sheep Boy. Oh, trust me, you're not gonna believe this one. So there was a comic where Spock from Star Trek fought Wolverine. This is the comic, and Spock actually won. Please explain to me how this guy beats this guy. What? Superhero Facts, Part 16. In the early editions of Iron Man, Tony Stark's boots would turn into roller skates. Peter Parker is so smart that he once built a time machine using a VCR, a microwave, and a blender. One of Gambit's superpowers is a hypnotic charm that he can use to influence anybody. Bouncing Boy is a DC superhero who is a fat guy that inflates himself and bounces on his enemies. Okay, so if you think you had a bad day, well, think again. Joker once tricked Superman into killing Lois Lane by taking her up into space because he put up the illusion that she was Doomsday. After Lois died, Joker then went on to detonate a nuclear bomb in Metropolis. That ended up pushing Superman to his limit, and this happened. Yikes. Did I also mention that when Superman killed Lois Lane, she was pregnant with his son? So if you think you had a bad day, think again. Superhero Facts, Part 17. Wonder Woman and Green Lantern were actually supposed to become a couple, but because a fan suggested it in fan mail, it was scrapped due to legal reasons. This one's unbelievable. Joker once served as the Iranian ambassador at the United Nations. So before you tell me that Superman is more powerful than Thor, well, think again. Cause Thor once punched someone so hard, it created a black hole. The most depressing comic storyline ever is called Hulk, The End, where Hulk survives a nuclear holocaust and is left to roam Earth by himself. DC writer Bill Finger was trying to come up with a fictional city while roaming through a phone book. He came across the name Gotham Jewelers and then created Gotham City, the home of Batman. Superhero Facts, Part 18. Stan Lee created Doctor Doom because he loves the idea of someone getting arrested for jaywalking but not wanting to take over the world. After unleashing his full power, Hulk was able to destroy an asteroid 2 times the size of Earth with a single punch. Thanos holds the record for killing the most beings in the Marvel Universe. Spider-Man at one point was the 4th strongest Avenger. Oh God. Hawkeye once ripped off his fingernails and used them as projectiles. Superhero Facts, Part 19. Although Superman might be the most well-known DC superhero, Batman has made the most appearances, totaling to 6,250 comic book appearances. Tony Stark was actually adopted, and the actual biological son of Howard Stark was known as Arnold Stark. In the comics, the God and the Devil teamed up against Spawn, and Spawn killed the God and the Devil. The Flash's top speed is 13 trillion times faster than the speed of light. When Lobo was 17, his high school history project was the genocide of his entire race. Superhero Facts, Part 20! In the comics, Tony Stark was the first person to ever fully assemble the Infinity Gauntlet and wield it. Out of all of the members, Captain America has been the leader of the Avengers for the longest amount of time. Marvel got around a law that increases taxes on toys that resemble humans by claiming that the X-Men are mutants, not humans. Okay, this is just a major yikes from me. In an alternate universe, Mary Jane died, but it was because she got cancer from having intercourse with Peter Parker. One of the most powerful Marvel heroes ever is Squirrel Girl. In the comics, she's defeated Doctor Doom and Thanos by herself. 20 episodes into Superhero Facts, and you guys have been loving this series, and I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, and just wanted to let you know that more is coming, but not in the way that killed Mary Jane. Superhero Facts, Part 21. The same guy that created Wonder Woman was also the same guy who helped create the world's first lie detector test. That's why one of her primary weapons is the Lasso of Truth. The Weapon X program that created Wolverine is actually supposed to be read as Weapon 10, with Captain America being the first weapon. In the 1970s, Captain America actually witnessed President Richard Nixon commit suicide shortly after the Watergate scandal. Cyclops' eyes are just portals to another universe, and his optic blast is just energy from that universe being transferred to his own. What the? There's an actual character in the Marvel Universe that's known as A1 Sauce. Superhero Facts, Part 22. Nicholas Coppola got his stage name Nick Cage from Marvel's Luke Cage. There was a superhero in the 1940s called Green Llama. He practices Buddhism, and one of his powers is reincarnation. The name Spider-Man actually has a hyphen in it, so people don't confuse him with Superman.